Elijah Muhammad. Fard Muhammad left, and Elijah Muhammad had taken the reins of this organization called the Nation of Islam. Today, this is February. In this country, we celebrate what in February? Black History Month. In Black History Month, this man, Elijah Muhammad, is not discussed. Why? Many a Muslim, when I say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they take exception with me because they say, why would you call this man honorable? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take you away from this man's name, and I'm going to give you some history, and as I'm giving you history, I'm going to ask you questions. If I told you that there was a man who went into the worst ghettos in the country, and he began to speak to the destitute members of those ghettos, he was talking to these people who had fallen into despair and gave them a message of hope that changed their life around, what would you call this man? If I told you that this man not only gave these people a message, but he set up programs to stop their alcoholism and to get them off of drugs, what would you call this man? If I told you that this man went in and saw this group of people that didn't have any confidence in themselves, and this group of people that were told for year after year after year that they were the worst of all creation, that this man went and told them that you have to be a man, don't have babies and leave them there, be responsible, what would you call this man? If the same man that taught these men how to be men actually taught these men how to teach other men how to be responsible men, what would you call this man? If this man decided to say, I want to empower these people economically, because unemployment amongst minorities in this country, it just didn't start being that it was a higher rate of unemployment now. Throughout the history of America, and I love to digress, so please bear with me. When I went to college, and I'm looking at all of you beautiful people in college, there was a show called Phil Donahue. Any of you ever heard of Phil Donahue? Okay, so I'm not by myself. I feel good. Phil Donahue had two different people on this show. He had the Grand Master of the Ku Klux Klan on this show, and he had the Mayor of St. Louis. And the Mayor of St. Louis and the Grand Master of the Ku Klux Klan began to have words between each other. And the Grand Master said to the Mayor of St. Louis, he said, listen, you people, you don't want to work, you lazy, and your unemployment rates are high because you don't want to do anything. My brother, he said something that has stuck with me from that time until now. And this has been 20 years. The brother said, lazy, it was upon our backs that built this country into the powerhouse it was. But in the days of slavery, there was no such thing as black unemployment. Everybody had a job. So, here when we look at this type of a situation, when we look at this man, like I said he wanted to go into these neighborhoods where people weren't hiring anybody, that didn't have any industry. He said, I want to empower you economically. So this man, he showed these people how to make bean pies. He went to the farmers and he bought fruit wholesale. He went and taught people how to make soup. With his little means, he made a newspaper. And what did he do with these small means? He gave these people jobs so that they were able, for the first time, to take care of their families. If a man does that, what do you call him? The same man, he becomes a businessman. His businesses grow. Not only is he dealing with farmers in this country, but he started a fish company called the Shabazz Fish Company. And they were importing tons of fish into the United States from Japan and then later on Peru. And he put thousands of people to work. Do we need somebody like that today? How are they creating jobs? He created jobs for people who didn't have any way of getting jobs. What do you call this man? I don't know about any of you, but I call him honorable. Now there are people who stand up and they say, oh, he did not teach Islam. My brother Malcolm X, and I'll be talking about him in a little while. For those of you who are familiar with me, you know I love Malcolm. It's my big brother. But Malcolm X was on a radio program, and during the radio program, the person that was interviewing him, he said, Brother Minister, there are many Arab Americans, Muslims, who say that Elijah Muhammad is not a Muslim. My brother Malcolm, he sat back and he said, brother, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, because I don't see how it is that any Muslim would say to another Muslim that he is not a Muslim. And then our brother Malcolm, with that certainty, with that confidence that he had, he said, I really don't care if they don't accept him as a Muslim anyway. Why? Because Malcolm said, and I'm quoting Malcolm, he said that it was through Elijah Muhammad that the words Allah, Quran, Islam, and Muhammad became a part of the American vernacular. He said that there were Muslims here in this country, and we could trace them back all the way to what we were talking about before 1683 and even before then. But what did the Muslims do? They came into the melting pot, but they weren't telling people that we're Muslims. They weren't telling people that this is Islam. They weren't propagating the religion. So Malcolm X said, look, if they don't want to do that, it's okay. But they shouldn't be the ones who say that Elijah Muhammad is not a Muslim. Why does that become important? Because in 1938, Elijah Muhammad had a book called How to Pray Salah. Everything that we do in Salah, he had it there. Elijah Muhammad made Hajj more than once. So I say to people now, and I say to my Muslim brothers and sisters that are out here right now, any of our dirty laundry, keep it in the house. We shouldn't accuse one group of people against another group of people. But I'm going to move away from Elijah Muhammad, because by the time Elijah Muhammad died in 1975, and you know many people said at one time that the Nation of Islam was the most militant group and the most dangerous group in America. But even with their danger, the people saying that they were dangerous, were the people of the Nation of Islam ever called terrorists or known for terrorist activities? No. In 1975, when Elijah Muhammad died, Americans still didn't look at Muslims as terrorists. We move on to Malcolm X. And Malcolm X, in the last century, he was voted as one of the most influential men of the century. His book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X, was voted one of the top 10 most influential books of the century. Malcolm X is more known outside of these borders than he is inside of these borders. 29 countries celebrate a Malcolm X Day. Why? Because Malcolm did something that in Islam we call Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. He enjoined what was right and he forbid what was bad. He forbade what was bad. He was not afraid to speak out against injustices. He was the most outspoken person about what was going on, the atrocities that were meted out against the black Americans in this country. Malcolm X ended up becoming a martyr. Why did he become a martyr? Many people will say because he spoke out against Elijah Muhammad. I don't agree. I'll give you my theory. You give me time, I'll give you my theory. Malcolm X understood that America had a problem. America had a sickness. This sickness was racism. This sickness made people write songs called That Strange Fruit. Why was the song Strange Fruit written? Because when a certain singer was driving through the South, she saw men that were just lynched, hanging from trees. What made them do that? This problem called racism. Racism, this disease, let men think that it was okay to get trained attack dogs and to attack innocent people and to put water hoses on them. What did it? This disease of racism. This disease of racism made white men go to a church in Selma, Alabama. They went to this church. They planted this bomb and they killed 4 innocent black children. What did it? Racism. What was the cure for racism in this country? My brother Malcolm found the cure. How did he find the cure? Malcolm X went to Mecca. And when Malcolm X went to Mecca, he saw something he never saw in his whole entire life. He saw people from every corner of the globe coming to one place, wearing one type of dress, chanting the same slogan, "Here I am, Lord, here I am. I'm here." He saw all these men worship one God together. And at night, when it was time for them to go to sleep, he slept side by side with white men with blue eyes and blonde hair. Malcolm X was the man who said the white man is the devil. It's on tape. It's there. He said that he hated these people for what they did to our people. But when Malcolm sat there and he ate from the same bowl and drank from the same cup as people that would consider him his enemy in America, he said, if America wants to rid itself of this disease called racism, the only solution for America is Islam. But when Malcolm came back with that message, he came back with something that was truly terrifying. Malcolm X was able to reach only a certain group of people in America because of the message that he was preaching. Because the people looked at it as hateful. But when he went to Mecca and he said that all men come from the same creator, and he began to invite people from all nations, of all colors, people said this is dangerous. And our brother Malcolm was assassinated. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We all belong to God, and to God we all must return. This is the legacy of Malcolm X. But when Malcolm died in 1964, were people that chose their faith to be Islam, were they called terrorists, or were they associated with terrorism? No. The last man that I want to talk about is a man by the name of Wallace Dean Muhammad, or Warith Dean Muhammad. Warith Dean Muhammad was the son of Elijah Muhammad. And Warith Dean Muhammad was very innovative. Warith Dean Muhammad took Islam from the back corners, from just being a black religion, and brought it into the forefront of America. This man, Warith Dean Muhammad, is responsible for the largest conversion of Islam in the whole century, last century. These people began and accepted Islam properly. They no longer held on to the false statements that were made by his father. But his father said that my son will take you to places that I can't take you now. What did Warith Dean Muhammad do? He was the first to give an invocation in the United States Senate. He was the first Muslim to do that. That was in 1992. On March 3rd, he became the first Muslim to deliver an address on the Georgia State Legislative floor. In 1993, he was the first person to give the inaugural prayer for the interfaith prayer service that was given by Bill Clinton. In '97, he became the second person. He's the same person. What was it that Sh.Hanif Mohammed was trying to do here in America? He was trying to introduce Islam to America, and he was one of the people who advocated interfaith dialogue. He would go out and he would organize meetings. How many of you guys ever heard of the Crystal Cathedral with Robert Schuller? No church watchers in the mornings? Okay, no problem. Robert Schuller is one of the biggest, if you Google him, you'll see it. Robert Schuller was one of the biggest evangelists during the late 70s, early 80s, and into the 90s. His Crystal Cathedral sat 25,000 people at that time. Because of the influence of this man, these people began to work together and do interfaith conferences together, that many people began to get a better understanding of what Islam was. We lost this man just a few years ago. We lost a giant. It'll take 15 to 20 years to understand what this man was trying to do. But he was alive. It was on his watch that 9/11 happened. But this man having the credentials that he had, why wasn't America turning to him to ask him about what happened with Islam in America?